Hey, folks, welcome to another podcast for the Utah County Republican Party. I'm your host. I'm the vice chair, Charles Max Wood, and I'm here with James Harrison, who's running for Lehi City Council. James, you're one of our endorsed candidates for Lehi City Council, and we're excited to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump in. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit first, just, what your background is, maybe what you do for work, how long you've lived in Lehi.
Yeah. So born and raised in Utah, up in Roy, up in Weber
Okay.
County. So little blue collar town up in Weber County. And when I was 17, I enlisted in the Marines in their delayed entry program and trained with them for a little bit before I went off to West Point.
Okay.
So spent a little time at West Point, went on my mission to Taiwan, learned Mandarin, decided I wanted to do diplomacy. So came back and did ROTC at BYU before going overseas. Actually, I went to DC for about 3 years and then went overseas, Beijing, Tokyo, and then Pakistan before finally coming back to Utah and joining the private sector.
That's quite the journey.
Yeah. No, it's good. And so we've been in Lehi for going on 4 years. So not long time residents, but my parents lived here. So we really wanted to stay in the area. We love Lehi as a community. So settled down here, and I joined a Utah startup company that's focused on strategic intelligence for companies, universities, and governments, primarily preventing Russian and Chinese attempts to steal their IP and recruit their talent.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good time.
Boy, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's been a pretty cool shift from federal employee overseas to a startup company and going straight into the business world. But it's been really fantastic. I'm overseeing our go-to-market in international markets.
Okay.
So primarily in Asia Pacific, but it's been very exciting and fun.
So you're doing sales and marketing, not necessarily the technology side of it.
No, I'm not smart enough to be the technology guy, but most of our operations and sales in Asia Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm the technology guy, so.
Yeah. Well, then that's a good balance.
Yeah. I enjoy that. But anyway, so Lehi City Council. So I'm always curious what makes people decide, oh, this is where I need to be, or this is where I want to serve, or.
Yeah. So it started. So I live in West Lehi, really close to the river.
You live over here by me.
Yeah, I live just a few hundred yards west of you. So and I have to commute to South Jordan. And so over time, I was involved in the community, coached my kids. But as I commuted to South Jordan, there was just a lot of questions I had about, like,
I'll bet.
I mean, I have to use Google Maps still, not because I don't know how to get to work, but because I have to find the fastest route through Lehi. And so there was, going on 3600 West and 2300 West and other roads, I was just very confused about why the traffic was so bad, massive high density developments without the proper infrastructure. So that was the catalyst that got me thinking about, how we can do things better. And then this spring, I made the decision, kind of a very sudden decision, to jump into the race, and I'm glad I did. I went from a high school education on how cities work to, I feel like, a PhD at this point. Discovering not only how decisions are made, but some of the issues in different parts of Lehi. And Lehi is a huge city, both geographically and population. And so, you could easily divide it into 3 cities. And so it's been very interesting, and I've enjoyed, talking to residents and hearing what's at the top of their mind.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you get into all of that, because I think a lot of times we get kind of the U.S. history and the how the U.S. government works, and then in the state, kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The history and why it's set up the way it is, and then you look into how the cities work and what they do, and it's pretty different.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of a history guy, and I love U.S. history, and I know have good relationships on the state government level, but it's a very, very different world at the city level.
Yeah.
Like the ideologies, your typical left-right conservative, liberal, it's very different on the city level, right? It's much more about the fundamental role of government and ensuring that corruption doesn't take place in our communities, because there's no independent press that's going to hold people accountable. It's really just on your honor and what the citizens see themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So, let's get into some of the issues here. You mentioned traffic. I don't know if that's still your kind of top issue. You also mentioned the high density housing. I mean, do you want to start with one of those or something else?
Yeah, I think it's kind of all tied together, to be honest. I think my biggest concern is high density, because that leads to the traffic.
Yes.
It leads to more crime, which we're seeing an influx in crime in those high density areas. So to start with density, I'm a believer in keeping taxes as low as possible, right? Especially property taxes, which you always hear the libertarian phrase, taxation is theft.
Yeah.
Of course, there's fundamental reasons for taxation, but when you can't own your own home ever, even if you paid it off for 50 years. So if we're going to have,
and then if you're elderly and you're on a fixed income, and
exactly,
I mean, that's where, it's like, okay, it's immoral anyway, but where you're actually can threaten to take an elderly person's home away because after they worked their whole life for it, because the value of their house went up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of screwed up. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, it is. And it's tied. I mean, 83% of our property taxes in Lehi are tied to school districts, right?
Right.
And so even if I get into city council, there's only about 17% that I could influence.
Right.
But we've seen our taxes go up for the first time in decades in 2022 and 2024. So it's on this cadence of increase.
Yeah, from the city.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think is interesting about that is that they hold the Truth in Taxation meeting, and they sit there and they take all the flack from all the people who don't want it to go up, and then they just raise them anyway.
Oh, yeah. Or they put it out for a vote, and it gets rejected, and they do it anyway.
And then they do it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Especially in the Alpine School District, it's quite a mess right now.
Yeah, they've done it 9 out of the last 11 years, I think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a different race.
Yeah, it's a totally different race. But I mean, I'm going to put in a big plug for the school district races, because, they don't get as much attention as the city races, but they're extremely important.
Yeah, they've got an outsized impact for sure.
Not only for taxes, but what our children are exposed to in schools, the curriculum. But to high density, I think Lehi has grown at an extremely fast rate.
Right.
And of course, there's mandates from the state government that are pushing cities into doing things they don't want to do. But the city council has discretion.
Right.
And we've given up so much commercial tax revenue to Saratoga Springs and American Fork. I mean, if you look at their commercial retail hubs, they're right on the border of Lehi.
I'm going to pump the brakes on that a little bit, because, so you're mentioning high density housing, and then you kind of pivoted into the commercial taxes. And just to connect the dots a little bit, and then you can explain further. It's my understanding that the primary revenue sources for the city are basically sales tax and property tax. So if it's not coming out of my property tax, which I think is more immoral than the sales tax, then you have to get more sales tax. So that's what you're driving at, right?
Yeah. I mean, the issue is the high density is getting approved in zoning change requests. Right. So you look at Holbrook Farms, they had commercial zoned property, and the developers came in and had a sob story about how they really needed more high density.
They do that all the time.
They do. Right. And
sorry,
they are.
That's my beef. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have any, problems with developers. Like, I have family members that are developers.
Well,
but they're
don't bend over for them.
Exactly.
Make it make sense, please.
Yeah. It does. And I made a pledge early on not to take any donations or endorsements from home builder associations or developers. Not because I don't like them. It's just because as a city council member, I have to have clear eyes when I look at decisions. And if you look at the past decade or two, the biggest donor that's not an individual to any campaign in Lehi has been developers.
Yeah.
And you can see,
or the Utah County Association of Realtors.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I don't, I've said realtors before, and I don't have any problem with individual realtors. But the associations have a stated purpose.
Yes.
And the Utah Valley Home Builders Association to, influence local governments. And I have a relative in southern Utah. He told me the same thing. He donates to everybody in every city that he's operating in because he wants favorable treatment.
Right.
And that's his prerogative, and I fully support them trying to do that because it's a business and they have a fiduciary duty.
Right. Well, and you shouldn't be antagonistic toward them, but it has to make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So the developers come in, they have these zoning requests, it gets swapped out for high density, and then we lose commercial tax base. And my understanding is 70% of Lehi's budget is funded through sales tax.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a very high amount. And the property tax portion usually goes to public safety.
Okay.
So what we need to do is, once it's been changed and developed, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And so we have very little land left that's commercially zoned and just open land. But I think we could do more on 2100, Redwood, Pioneer, and State Street to promote commercial growth.
Do we have anything on Redwood?
We do. There's a little bit of land. Actually, it crosses Redwood, or 2100.
Okay. I didn't realize that was
there.
still Lehi.
There's a little bit, but it's mostly along 2100.
Yeah. Well, and I look over there too, and a lot of the high density housing has gone in there, and so those folks either have to go into Saratoga Springs, or they have to fight the traffic all the way through Lehi to get to like Macy's or something.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at Saratoga, and it's almost comical because they get as close as they can to Lehi.
Well, there are way more people over here.
Yeah, tons of people. And there's historically we've had opportunities to annex some of Saratoga Springs way back. We didn't do it, and we actually gave the land where the Home Depot and Walmart is in American Fork. We gave that land to American Fork, and so we've given up quite a bit of retail capability. And but on the positive side, we have some really great corporations that have landed in Lehi, especially the Class A office spaces, Adobe,
right.
So that's good, but retail tax, sales tax money is the premier tax revenue for the city.
Right. So how do you increase that? I would imagine that mostly you just tell them they could build there, because I can't imagine a business not wanting to be here.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two ways. The first way is to hold to commercial zoning and empower our city administrators to go out and market Lehi better. And then the second is not to give massive tax incentives to the big businesses, right? Like Texas Instruments, the Skyview development, and a couple others have received, combined $10 to $20 million in tax incentives.
Oh, wow.
And so that we can't even recognize that tax revenue for years and years. And they're pulling water and other resources toward their businesses. And water's a whole other issue, but I don't think we consider it enough as a state and as a city when we talk about development.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Both statewide, and as a city.
Yeah.
The people I'm usually talking to are at the state level, and
yeah.
We don't have long enough to talk about that.
Well, but it's true though, because like the city is a subdivision of the state, and you have these mandates coming down, and you have a third of the lawmakers in Salt Lake that are in development somehow, right?
Yep.
And so for me, like I'm a limited government conservative, and I want to see the state act more responsibly and let the cities kind of form their own identity. And keep true to what they are, right? You look at Highland and Alpine, they have a very distinct community.
Yeah, they do.
And you may not like it, you may love it, but they've held to it. Lehi is trying to do everything for everyone, and for some reason we want to just cram as many people as possible into Lehi.
Right.
And I just don't think that's sustainable long term.
Right. So you kind of flirted with another issue I want to talk about, but I'm going to stay on the high density housing and traffic and commercial zoning for a minute. How do you begin to fix some of these issues?
I think it's holding developers, being able to say no to developers, first of all, because they will come in. And I've attended many city council meetings where sometimes the council will approve, sometimes they'll reject. But you have these other types of potential overlays that are being proposed. In Lehi, we call it SHAR. It used to be called CHAWS. But it's basically under the guise of more affordable housing, putting overlays in sections of the city where if you're zoned for a half acre, this overlay will actually allow developers to come and purchase a property and then divide it up into thirds and build small unit homes.
Okay.
So imagine like a single family home neighborhood, you move to it because you love it, and then suddenly you see a house sell and then it gets demolished and then you have 3 homes built. It really doesn't help with affordability when it's $400,000 to $500,000 for a mini house.
Right.
But it does, I think, destroy certain neighborhoods.
Yeah. You have more cars parking on the street and more traffic going through there. And
and there's
more kids in the schools and
in the schools, that's another thing. There's our schools are very overcrowded, but there's this idea of making Lehi more walkable, which I just don't see how. I mean, we're already an established city, right? It's not like The Point where you can kind of just design a city from the ground up.
Yeah.
So we're never going to be a walkable city unless you live in a transit oriented zone, around a station.
But even then I see those areas being put together and people still want to have a car to get to wherever they got to go to, or if they have to drive to work. I mean, it's just, unless you live right on, Front Runner or tracks or something, it's not really a feasible thing anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And so these type of overlay proposals, which I'm pretty sure there's only one city council candidate that actually supports it, which is good. So 3 out of 4 of us do not support these overlays, but that kind of experimentation with property rights, like it decreases transparency into the value of your home. It would require some sort of government power increase to be able to control affordability, which I just don't like.
Nobody wants that.
No, if you continue to build and build and build, it's not going to become more affordable. It's just going to create more demand, and everything's going to go up. You look at Silicon Valley in California, they have tons of high density housing, and it's still $4,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And so if we hold to what makes Lehi great, then I think we'll be set for the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's roll in a little bit more to the financial stuff. And you kind of, like I said, you kind of flirted with that. So one of the things is you mentioned that like some of these developments got tax breaks.
Yeah.
The other thing I see on the other side is the spending and bonding, right? So there was $20-something million bond for the new city hall.
Yeah.
There's a $68 million plan for that entire 2 blocks.
Yeah.
I understand that Family Park was like $10 or $15 million bond. And so then I'm looking at it and going, you have to pay that back, right? And so you've got to increase revenue. Now, we could put in more commercial. I don't know how long that takes, but in the meantime, what's your other option? You got to raise property tax.
Yeah.
And I've had a few members of the current city council try and tell me that no, we can do it all without raising taxes, but they haven't shown me their math, and I can't make it math on my own. So, I mean, what are we looking at there as far as the city's finances with the things that we've committed to buy or pay back, and then some of these other things that we wind up spending money on?
Yeah, well, I think some of those projects have been pretty irresponsible. The city hall, like we knew that the city hall needed a makeover, right? And I mean, it's pretty small, and we have about 700 employees in the city, and so we needed to do something.
Well, in the library, I can kind of see that too. We got a lot more people. We want a better facility, more options to offer people, right?
But even the library was kind of an afterthought. They put the library in there, but it's still not going to. I think eventually we'll need a new library. It's just not enough space. And the city hall, I mean, it looks pretty cool.
It's a beautiful building.
If I wasn't paying for it as a taxpayer, I'd be like, wow, that's a pretty cool building. But it's over the top. We could have saved.
And a nod to history, great.
Yeah. And it does have some historical kind of throwback, but way too much money. We could have renovated for half the price. I think it's more of a monument to current city officials, and I just don't think we should be paying for that.
I heard somebody call it the Mark Johnson Memorial Building.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me started. but I mean, it's and then you look at Family Park and how much we've spent on Family Park, and it's not even halfway completed.
Uh-huh.
And, Miller Roads, which is a park out west that we wanted to build and had money allocated for it, we had to take that and put into Family Park.
Right.
And Family Park's great, but, it was sold by the Peck family to the city. And the handshake agreement was that it would be called Peck Park or Peck Family Park, and that there would be baseball fields. Well, there's no baseball fields, and it's not called Peck Park.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And so I think that was kind of a middle finger to the Peck family, unfortunately. Yeah. And of course, the mayor lives right across the street from where the baseball fields would have been.
Right.
They're soccer fields at the time, currently. So the soccer fields are there to stay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, and this is a thing that I think a lot of people, it's like, look, whether it's a handshake agreement or a contract, keep your word.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately they went, they used the legalese to kind of overturn that, and we have what we have. But we still have 0 baseball parks on the east side. There's a high demand for soccer, which is great, but just the way in which the city has been, not forthright or transparent on how decisions are made. When I came into this race, I really hadn't seen any of that firsthand. And every week I see or talk to about 3 or 4 people who give me another story about what the city has done in not being transparent. And it really, it's disturbing, to be honest. I think there's a lot of people that support the outside candidates for that reason.
Yeah.
I would rather earn support through another way than having people so upset by the city government that they're gonna vote for outsiders. So, hopefully we can make those changes. I'm a big fan of Michelle Stallings on the city council. I think she really stands up for residents. There's a lot of votes that are 4 against 1. And so I'd like to see that change to be able to stand up for residents and be more fiscally responsible in the city.
Right. Well, that makes total sense to me. Yeah, I want to get into, and you talked about this at the beginning, and I think we talked about some of the root causes, but just traffic in general.
Oh, yeah.
So, and, you talked about high density housing, and sure, we can control, or the city council has say over what happens in Lehi.
Yeah.
But a lot of the traffic, Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain traffic that comes through Lehi. And so that's the other thing, at least out here on the west side of the city, that we deal with. On the east side, there are some arteries that go, come in from Highland or Alpine or American Fork. But, here on the west side, a lot of the traffic is not Lehi traffic.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with a lot of that? I mean, and just to go a little bit further with this, they've talked about expanding some of the roads, but those are years-long projects. Pioneer Crossing was originally supposed to be a larger road with on-ramps and off-ramps, which I think would have put us in a much better position now, but it's not.
Yeah.
So how do we begin to fix some of those issues? Because I'll tell you, when I have to drive my kids to school, they go to school out over in Pleasant Grove up by the temple.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, do I go down Main Street or do I take my chances because it might be faster or it might take me twice as long to go down Pioneer Crossing?
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because, it's for traffic on Pioneer Crossing, it's equally northbound and southbound once they hit I-15. So there's no relief. It's not like you can go against traffic.
Right.
So I think, I think the city and UDOT hasn't been very strategic. I mean, we're already 10 years behind. Pioneer Crossing was built, I think, in 2010, and within 2 years, it was at max capacity.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right. And we didn't have any right of way that was established, and so the only way to expand that road is to demolish homes.
Right, which is something nobody wants.
Nobody wants it, and they're new homes too.
Yeah.
It's like what was going through. And some of the growth that we experienced was unexpected, especially after COVID. But even before COVID, we were at capacity.
Right.
And so we need better relationships with UDOT and our surrounding cities. I think with American Fork, it's pretty good. With Saratoga Springs, I think, and this is more on the mayor, but also on the city council to improve that relationship because they have their own priorities.
Right.
And strengthening Pioneer Crossing, maybe even having 1900 South as a main thoroughfare, or even something over the lake. Right?
Yeah, I've heard all of those.
Yeah, and
been hearing them for years.
I mean, I think it was like the 80s when they talked about a road over the lake, right?
Yeah. But my understanding was they kept talking about like a road over the middle of the lake, which I don't know how realistic that is. But having something out over the north end of the lake, I think that's doable.
Yeah, I do too. And
I don't know. I'm not an engineer as far as that goes, so I don't know how much it would cost or whatever. But yeah.
Well, we did get federal funding to do a study on seeing how feasible it would be. But I've seen studies where not only one but two shoreline trails or routes, plus 1900 West plus Pioneer Crossing, and we're still going to hit capacity at 2050. And so, because I mean, Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, they have 120,000 people.
Oh, and they have tons of room to grow.
And their stated capacity is 500,000, right? So that's like 2 Salt Lake cities west of us trying to get through.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look at the north end, you have 2100 that's going to be completed, which is great. You have Mountain View Corridor, but you still need that north connector from I-15 to Redwood Road. Kind of going.
Oh yeah, that would
near
make
Camp
huge
Williams.
difference.
Yeah. And so, but again, that has troubles because if you go over Point of the Mountain, it's already kind of a traffic hazard when you go up there, especially in the winter.
Yep.
And so add an on ramp or an off ramp there, and it's going to cause issues. But we still have to pursue it.
Yeah.
And we do have to work with our neighbors a little better. They had more regular coordination previously, but that has stopped because I just don't think there's a lot of trust built between Lehi and those mayors. And so, it's in their best interest because if traffic starts clogging up in Lehi, it's going to clog up in their towns.
Right.
And then there's other projects like the Clubhouse Drive extension over Thanksgiving Point Golf Course. That's also been kind of thrown in there as a possibility, but it's not needed. In my opinion, UDOT has stated it won't relieve regional traffic. The current mayor is still pushing for it in the last couple months of his administration because it's not about traffic. It's about the development at Corn Bellies with 2,000 new units. Okay. And for them to be able to build that high density there has to be that Clubhouse Drive extension.
They need more capacity for that traffic.
Right. And so to me, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like I would kind of axe that entire study of the Clubhouse Drive extension. It would destroy the golf course.
Yeah, it would.
It would increase traffic in Holbrook Farms, which once 2100 is completed, that's gonna be a very quick entrance into Holbrook.
Well, the other issue is I just imagine that road right there, and there's stuff pretty close to the road. I'm trying to imagine what it even looks like to widen it. I mean,
yeah.
And the interchange on the other side of the freeway, heading east for Timpanogos Highway. I mean, that's already hairy enough.
Yeah. I think they're going to extend the commuter lane all the way to I-15 at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's scheduled. I think that was their original intent.
Well, that would probably help some.
It would help a little bit, but yeah, I mean, that traffic moves a little bit better, especially once you get on or off I-15. So the traffic issues, I think we just have to expedite it, right? Like we do this, we get funding for a study, and then we do the study, and then there's more talk and talk and talk. And by the time we get any results, it's, a decade or two later.
Right.
And so figuring out a way to expedite that. And then the other aspect is, I'm a big fan of Senator Heidi Baldery. She's endorsed me.
She's awesome.
She's great.
You want to talk about a politician who listens to her people?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's terrific.
She is terrific. And she's a fairly new senator.
Yeah.
But she's very, very effective. And she wants to work with Lehi more.
Right.
And if you look at how Utah County kind of lobbies the state government compared to Davis, Weber, Morgan County, it's very different. Like in Utah County, each city kind of acts as their own little kingdom.
Right.
And when you go up north, they lobby together. I mean, they have the Speaker of the House and the Senate President up there, but you look at their infrastructure projects and it's incredible. Utah County just doesn't have that. We're not getting the same funding.
Right.
And so I'd like to see that increase and bring Heidi more into that, into what's best for Lehi. She covers, the whole city plus a little bit of Draper and Saratoga. So I think she wants to help. She just hasn't had much luck in working with our past administration.
Yeah. One other thing that I heard, just to switch gears on you a little bit, there was something about a tracks line or something coming down, or
yeah. Well, UDOT, UTA, they want to have a line go through the point, right? And the original plan was like a little further east. The mayor is kind of upset about it because the new line wouldn't really get to, I think, Adobe, right? And I think Adobe was promised a tracks line to be very close to their building.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And so I think for me, it's all kind of a moot point because we already have the front runner.
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to jump on a tracks line at Thanksgiving Point and go to Draper when they can take the front line or the front runner.
I'm going to ask about that in a minute, but keep going.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, I think it's overall, the state wants to extend tracks into Utah County. And to do that, they have to go through Lehi. But for me, I think we need to spend more effort getting maybe an east-west tracks line. And really the only place to do that is on 2100. But I mean, imagine a park and ride out in Saratoga Springs for people to take the tracks line to the front runner in Lehi and then.
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. I mean, that would relieve thousands of cars per day on Lehi roads. And so that, I don't know why that hasn't been pushed harder. The north-south tracks line connector, I just don't see how that would help Lehi residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that somebody pointed out to me was that they want to put another front runner station in Lehi.
You mean in south, like further south?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a whole big plan on how to put way more high-density housing right there by it.
Oh yeah, like through a TOD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard about front runner. I've only been following the tracks proposal.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah,
this is from somebody who really watches the taxing and financing stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah. I was like, I hadn't heard that. And yeah, it's buried way off in.
Yeah.
I'll send you the PDF and you can look at it. But
yeah, send it.
Yeah, it all seems like it's all, you said it's all kind of connected, and you see all of these different things kind of come through, and it seems like a lot of it's being pushed from the same agenda, from the same people. I mean, I don't know if I'm smart enough to know what the end game of that is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating because at the end of the day, then we wind up in this position where, it takes me, 20 minutes longer than it ought to get to the freeway. Or for a while, I was an ordinance worker at the Saratoga Springs Temple. And so I'm driving over there at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Friday. You'd think it'd be clear streets. And no, it takes me 45 minutes to make what should be a 15-minute drive.
Yeah.
And then you have the school district and the city raising my property taxes every other year.
Yeah.
And, with the economy, because it's not hard enough. Right. I have to pay extra for all this other stuff. And then on top of all of that, then they want to build themselves this Taj Mahal in the middle of town.
Yeah.
And so, I'm looking at it and I'm going, I mean, I understand the people that are frustrated because they look at it and, you said, we should be voting for the people who want to do the right thing instead of voting the bums out who are doing the wrong thing. But it's real hard sometimes to look at it and not go, but if we could just get rid of those 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
That vote this stuff through, that we wouldn't be better off. And so,
well, and it's just a lack of strategy, right? Like I feel like the city council will just take one item at a time and they'll vote up and down based on the desire of what the developers is telling them, right? And there's just no strategic view of how we want Lehi to look 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And the funding, like you bring up the Taj Mahal, right? I mean, we don't have sidewalks in very busy areas in Lehi next to schools. There was a kid hit 2 weeks ago at Ascent Academy It's just,
Yep.
just off 2300, north of Willow Creek.
Yep.
There's a kid hit there there's a lack of sidewalks. There was no crosswalk.
Right.
And so finally, and I hate to say like that I was right on this, but like in the primary, I made a comment on social media, like, do we have to wait until a kid is hit to put in sidewalks? Right. And sure enough, a kid was hit. And finally, at this last city council meeting, at least they're going to put in a crosswalk in front of a school.
Right.
Which to me, it just baffles my mind that that wouldn't be put in earlier. But you have like these sidewalks where, if you're limited with mobility, if you're elderly, or if you have kids, you're walking in the street or you're walking on someone's property in the mud.
Yeah. Right? My daughter, so she works at the subway over by the freeway.
Yeah.
And in fact, she was here when you came and she left before, right?
Okay.
I think I heard her walk out the door because her shift starts at 4. But she rides an electric scooter down there. And the bike lane is not really ideal for her.
Yeah.
A way to get there, just with the way that they're set up. And so a lot of times she'll go down Main Street, and Main Street doesn't have sidewalks either.
Yeah.
For a good stretch of it.
Yeah. I mean, they're sporadic, right? But
so she points out, so I cross here and then I cross here, but I still have to go this distance with, on the shoulder of the road, hoping people are paying attention.
Yeah. Well, and even, another huge issue that came up a couple months ago was 2300 West.
I'm so glad they widened that.
Well, they widened it, which is amazing. We love it. But the issue is, in the original agreement, the city got signatures from residents on supporting this with MAG, because it's a MAG funded road.
Okay, explain MAG.
It's like the Mayor's Association for Utah County.
Okay.
Right. So the mayors get together. There's funding that's allocated from MAG to cities for certain projects. And the residents supported it because in the proposal it said there would be sidewalks extended from Main Street to 2100.
Right.
Well, without telling the residents, there's a huge chunk along the west side of 2300 West near Willow Creek and Ascent Academy, where they decided not to put in sidewalks, but instead put in one of those mid-block hawk crossing, right? Those where you go and push a button and the lights flash.
Okay.
Right. So it's not at an intersection, but it's mid-block.
Right.
And it's right next to the school. So they did the bait and switch on the residents. They put in that huge hawk light. So in other words, if you want to walk along the west side of 2300, you have to cross the road, a busy road,
right,
and then cross it again mid-block, which means it's just more dangerous, right? And the current city council, at least a couple of them, have said, well, it's safer to cross the street than it is to stay on the sidewalk, which I don't really understand that logic. And then
I'm trying to math that one out in my head.
Yeah. Well, and when we talk about sidewalks, one city council,
show me the studies. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of doubt it.
Well, no, they're definitely wrong. I mean, staying on the sidewalk is always safer.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, and so they kind of gaslit the residents along there, saying, well, but we ran out of funding, or it's like you didn't communicate clearly, and you're telling people it's safer to cross a road than to stay on a sidewalk.
Keep your word. I mean, if this was the deal, then honor the deal.
Yep.
And if you really can't do it for whatever reason, then explain it to us. But this happens often enough that people at least people I talk to have trouble buying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the residents,
I'm sorry if my frustration comes through, but
no.
This seems like it's a chronic issue.
Yeah. It's a chronic issue. It's a lack of transparency. It's I don't really like the term gaslighting, but it is gaslighting.
Yeah.
Right. It's
definitionally.
Well, and it's just kind of this extreme hubris coming from city officials saying that, well, either you didn't deserve it in the first place, or what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they
that one really ticks me off. Well, you just don't understand. We get it from our legislators, some of the legislators too. Well, you just don't understand. And I'm like, I've got an hour. You can explain it.
Yeah, well, explain it. And some have tried to explain it.
Yeah.
And that's when they started saying that, sidewalks aren't as safe as crossing the road.
Right. Which
or that city funded sidewalks is somehow socialism, which is one city council member told me that. Because, even though it's
city funded fire department socialism too, then
to me, public safety, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about is, public safety is the number one responsibility of a city government. Like, if it does nothing else, it should at least provide for the physical safety of residents.
Yeah, I guess if there's a baseline, it's, hey, look, I can get power and water to my house, right? Gas, because I guess
basic infrastructure,
right? The roads are maintained and not awful to drive on, and my kid can walk down to 7-Eleven without me worrying about whether or not they're going to get shot, mugged, or in other ways hurt.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is Lehi is 40 police officers short right now.
No.
Yeah. Orem, we just passed Orem in population. They have 107, around 107 police officers. We have about 67.
I just interviewed Mayor Young, and what he's done down there has been brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is where are most of the police responding to calls? High density housing. Right. So it's all connected, like I said at the beginning. And so the Chief Paul, who's incredible, we have an incredible police department, great fire department. He requested 9 new officers this year. He got 2 plus 1 school resource officer.
Okay.
And so you have moments during, one police officer told me they had 4 domestic violence calls at the exact same time. And they didn't have enough police officers to back each other up. So you're sending one police officer with no backup into a violent situation. I think they did an hourly study for 24 hours in a day, how many officers we need and how many we have. And at 8 p.m. every day, we're about 17 officers short from where we need to be just on a basic national average. It should be about 1.4 police officers per 1,000 residents.
Okay.
And we're at 100,000 residents right now.
So I guess the question there is, the obvious question is, what do you do about it? Like, how do we get more police officers?
Paul Benz, who's a great candidate for mayor, I support him. That's his number one priority, is to increase that funding. One of the reasons why the mayor and council currently didn't approve all 9 hires is because they want to add curbs to the 700 South bike lanes, and they want an ice rink.
Well, hang on. If the sidewalks are socialism, what are the curbs?
Well, not only the curbs, but on a very unpopular bike lane on 700 South, which if you haven't seen it, it's something to see. It's very confusing. It's actually a safety hazard. Like, kids don't even use the bike lanes. They'll still drive down the middle of the road.
Yep.
Right. And so they want to make those permanent by putting in curbs, even though 9 out of 10 of the residents that live there don't want it.
Well, the other thing is that, so if you've seen them, they've got like the big reflective, I don't know what they are, pole things.
The posts.
And posts. So, and I think you can drive through them. They're meant to make noise on your car, not damage it. But I haven't hit one, so I don't actually know. But my point there is that it's pretty well delineated that way anyway, right? So it seems like unnecessary money.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to what you're saying about, hiring police officers and Paul Ben's priority there, is it really just a money problem?
I think it's a priority problem. It's a money. I don't think it's as much of a money problem as we make it sound.
Okay.
Right? It's about priorities.
So we have the money if we want to spend it that way.
Yeah, I think we do because again, we're funding and we're paying off the city hall, the family park. We have other pet projects that are occurring throughout town, which I think we should just reprioritize and focus. Like, of course, we all would love an ice rink, and if we can get it privately funded, great, fully support it.
Yeah. It was my understanding that this year they're not doing it because they couldn't make it pencil out.
Yeah, and that's my understanding too. But I think I think we have the budget to do basic safety, and we're kind of at the peak of Lehi's kind of era where we're one of the safest cities in the country. It's we're kind of sitting on top. Both Chief Paul and Chief Kraft have been recognized for their incredible leadership. But with additional high density, eventually homeowners are going to move out of those apartments and you're going to get renters, and crime will continue to increase. And so we need to get ahead of that curve now by having more police officers. If we wait, then there's going to be increased crime, and not like, vandalism and once in a while some domestic violence, but murders and other intense crime.
So are we losing police officers? And if we are, is that a money issue where we're not meeting salaries? Or
I think we're doing pretty well with salaries and benefits.
Okay, so we're competitive.
Yeah, we're competitive. I think we're not.
It's just not been a priority.
We're not the highest. We're not the lowest. We're kind of mid tier or above, is my understanding. And so it's not that. It's just that I think the police are overstretched.
Right.
And me and one other candidate, we support having a civilian code enforcement officer, because if you hire like a retired cop to go out and enforce, parking in the winter, or your tree is, you need to trim the tree because it's going into someone else's property and they're complaining, right? That would relieve a patrol officer to go out and deal with real police work, right? Rather than enforcing code. And I know Provo has at least 3 civilian code enforcement officers. And there's going to be situations where I'm walking into something, might be dangerous. So yeah, bring a patrolman along.
Right.
But even the police have told me that they don't want to do code enforcement. We should have a civilian code enforcement officer.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So do we have any of the same issues in any of the other public safety areas, like fire or paramedics?
Fire's doing great. We're fully staffed on fire. We just built Station 84 out in West Lehi. So they're doing really, really well. I think eventually we're going to need to look at like a South Lehi fire station, just because we're growing more and more. And that's probably the longest response time is South Lehi. But we're doing really well, and Chief Kraft has done an incredible job at taking care of his firemen. So I think we're set on that. EMS, I think we're doing pretty well there. One resident, a neighbor of mine, brought up having a EMS liaison or coordinator. So I really want to talk to Chief Kraft about that and see how that would help improve response time and kind of coordination between local, county entities, police, and fire. But really, I think with public safety, to me, it's sidewalks and it's headcount for police officers.
Gotcha. So one thing that you mentioned earlier, and then we got talking about other things, which great, is you talked about making Lehi the kind of place that we want it to be. And, I've been an entrepreneur for years and kind of followed along a lot of this stuff. I'm currently in party leadership here, but I've been an influencer in the tech space for almost 20 years. Right. And so when you're talking about kind of having this strategic vision or strategic, I don't know if you use the word vision or something else, but that idea of where we want to go. I mean, that really struck home for me, because ultimately it seems like the people who have that idea, right? Okay, this is what we're headed for. This is what we're trying to create. These are the principles that guide us. Those are the ones that wind up making the change, right? And then you can use that also as your guiding light to basically say yay or nay on this stuff, right? So then instead of it being the folks that have the agenda at the state to see more high density housing, or whether it's just this developer and this other group that's interested in this or that, when they come, you can say that doesn't fit with our vision. Right. Not necessarily that's illegal, or that's going to cost the city $1 bazillion, but just that doesn't fit with who we are in Lehi. What is that for you, and how do you get other council members and the mayor and other people on board with it?
I think zoning exists for a reason, right? And you have one side that says, property rights are absolute, which would mean that, no matter what, you have a property and you can do whatever you want with it. You could build a nuclear power plant right next door if you wanted, right?
I'm actually very, very sympathetic to that point of view, but I think there are limitations.
Well, yeah, and I am too. Like, we talked about property rights and property taxes that really, I feel like it's an egregious tax. But at the same time, like zoning is in place so that you can have confidence in moving to a neighborhood that you're moving to somewhere that you like, right? And if you want to live in downtown, great. It has a unique kind of character to it. If you want to live over by Family Park or Lehi Junior High, it has a different, or Traverse or out here, right? It's very different. But I think zoning is good because it can, if you don't do it well, if you don't enforce it, if it's not planned well, you end up with things like over by Hadco off 2100 where you have light industrial, which I think it's beyond light industrial.
I've talked to a number of people that live over there that just...
I mean, the noise is brutal, right? Even in the daytime when the noise ordinance isn't as strict.
So just to give people a little bit of background, and this is what I've heard, you can correct anything I get wrong, but effectively there's a large lot over there that's owned by Hadco that they drive their big heavy trucks onto and off of frequently. And it's zoned as light industrial, and they treat it like it's this heavy industrial staging area all the time. And so the residents over there, they don't like the dust, they don't like the noise, they don't like the traffic with the big machines. They're worried about safety issues over there. And it's my understanding that they've complained to a number of people on the city council, and they've gotten some sympathy from some city council members, but it's not been enough to change anything.
I mean, this is like decades.
Yes, it's been going on for a long time.
Like, and to me, it's a zoning issue. You never put light industrial next to residential, especially since it's grown into something which I think is beyond light industrial. The city has a responsibility to solve this issue. And to Hadco's credit, I mean, they've done the best that they could. They've added some buffer and some mounds, and they've lined the property with a bunch of trailers to try to break the sound up, but it doesn't work. And not only that, but like it's, they have daytime noise, but they also have some nighttime or really early morning noise. In the winter when it's dark until like 7:30 or so, they're there at 6 and sometimes before, just throwing hammers against some of these trucks to get the ice off. And to me, it's like, I have kids. And I'm thinking like, man, if I still had a baby trying to sleep and my house was next to this, it would be a nightmare. And so, and Hadco's done very well. I'm very supportive of them as a business, and they've expanded, and it's great. It's great for Lehi. It's great for Hadco and their employees. But clearly there's a conflict, and it's never going to be resolved by just ignoring it. And so first and foremost, we should protect the residents. Like a business is a business. It's an optional venture that people go into. People that live in a home, I mean, that's sacred. And they should have some sort of protection and confidence that they can live there, and their welfare and health and safety are protected by the city. So, I mean, that's just an example of what we were talking about with zoning. But to the vision of Lehi and what we want it to be, Lehi, it's unlike any other city. I can think of a few cities that have a very distinct identity, like. You look at Sugar House in Salt Lake, like it's very unique. Park City, St. George, Ogden. But Lehi, especially, we have the rodeo. We have kind of this old town on Main Street where it's very unique and it's really cool. But, if we continue to overdevelop, and if we continue to not think about zoning and neighboring zones, then we're going to start to overdevelop to the point where old Lehi residents are going to leave. We're gonna leave because we're designing it to make room for more out-of-staters to come to Lehi, and that's what I don't want. We talk about like, well, I want my kids to live in Lehi, so let's build more high density so they'll want to live here. It's like, no, that'll make you want to leave, and your kids definitely won't want to come to Lehi.
Makes sense. So I guess I'm kind of looking for a little bit more kind of the feel of the town, right? So you did talk about kind of the historic downtown and things like that, but outside of, this is a place. I guess what I'm looking for is, what makes Lehi a great place to live in then, if you are the hey, I want my kids to move to Lehi, and I want, I want to see, be able to go to my kids' baseball games or my grandkids' baseball games, and, live in a community that feels and acts a certain way. Because you talked about the high density housing and how that isn't conducive to it. But what kinds of things can you actively do to, I guess, bring more of the things in that make it the way that you want it?
Yeah, I think it's less bringing things in outside of additional kind of needed retail,
Right.
right? Like State Street, for example, it's kind of a hodgepodge of commercial.
Yeah.
I think we could make better use of that and kind of promote the commercial and retail aspects there. But I think it's more about not allowing certain redevelopments to occur in areas that we love in Lehi.
I got you.
I mean, personally, I love Lehi because you can drive down the street to your home and you have horses still on properties, right?
Yep.
You have Old Town Lehi that's really cool. You have some parks in the east and in downtown that are really unique. But again, like these proposed overlays, that could all go away, right? Downtown could become more commercialized. And even though I support more commercial and retail, you have to do it in the right areas, right? You don't want to, I mean, there's issues right now in Lehi where, residential areas, suburbs are getting approved for some commercial rezoning.
Right.
With like pickleball courts and stuff. And I like pickleball. I'm not very good at it. I haven't played in a while, but it's like pickleball's notorious for being very loud to neighbors. Or just increasing traffic in this, suburban residential area.
Right.
And then, one resident at the last meet and greet in the primary, she just moved to Lehi from Provo, but she works for the Provo city government. And she just made a comment to me like it's Lehi has developed very strangely. Like it's hard to figure out like what the character of a certain neighborhood is now,
right? Because
we're trying to do so much all at once, and again the high density mandates from the state. I think we can push back on laws and regulations can be changed.
Yep.
Right. We can't. We have to obey the law, but we also should be influencing the change that we want and not what would hurt the character of Lehi.
Well, and I like that too, because, just from the county party stuff that I've been doing, a lot of the lawmakers, it's one thing to go in and say, I don't like the mandates. It's another thing to go in and say, this is the character we're trying to create in Lehi, and this is where the mandates hurt our efforts.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can actually tell them the story that you're trying to write.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot more compelling because then they can say, oh, okay. And, and then maybe you can get some compromise somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point because I think all the lawmakers they live somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so making it more of a story. And personally, I think Lehi has done well above our fair share in high density.
Oh, I agree.
Like if you, I don't believe that high density equals affordability, but if you do, then we've done plenty for affordable housing.
I'm planning on getting some experts that have looked into that pretty deeply to come on and talk about it. And then, the consensus from them is the same, that the high density does not equate to having more affordable housing.
Well, there's an op-ed in the Salt Lake Tribune, like in 2019 that I love, that talks about that exact issue. But yeah, affordability, it's the other thing is if you overdevelop in high density and don't have enough single family home development, then you're trapping young families in condos and townhomes forever.
Because they have nowhere to go.
Yeah. The supply of single family homes, they can't graduate to the next step up. Right.
Well, and that's the same for folks in my position, right? Where, we have a little bit larger home, but if you're not building, the next level of that, whatever that is, it's the same thing. Right. And then, so I don't vacate. And so then somebody in a little bit smaller home doesn't vacate. And yeah.
Well, and financially for the city, high density doesn't bring a lot of revenue into the city. It actually costs more for us to support the infrastructure than we get in that 17% of property tax that we control in return. Right. So
I've heard that from the school district too, actually.
Yeah. So it's a cost center.
Puts more kids into the school with less property tax and income tax base to draw from.
Yep. So that's why, like, as we put in high density, we have to count that as a net negative over time for city revenue.
Right.
And so how do we make up for that? Well, if we don't have enough retail coming in, or if we're giving massive tax incentives to developments coming in that we can't recognize that revenue for a decade or two, then what happens? We have to raise taxes, which is the last thing I want.
Can I ask you about that? Why? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't ask this so with the antagonistic tone in my voice, but why would the city need to give tax incentives to developers to have them build here?
I think the official line would be that they just won't come here if we don't give tax incentives.
There are a lot of reasons to live in Lehi, and I'm pretty sure you'd be able to sell those houses.
I do too.
That's where I get hung up. So do we need to do it then?
I personally don't think we need to. I think we can empower our city to market better. Mm-hmm. And there have been tax incentives and these CRAs that have been turned down by the city. You don't hear about those as much. But up in Traverse, you have this big multi-use development going in near the temple. Right. Like big retail, high density.
Yep.
And they have a huge tax incentive. Texas Instruments, they got tax incentives from the federal government, the state government, and from Lehi.
Yeah, but that was clear back when, unless there's something more recent.
I think it's the more recent because of their expansion of Texas Instruments. Because they got a bunch of CHIPS Act money from the federal government.
Okay.
And then also state and local. But to me, it's like, and this is as objective as possible, is there any better real estate in the entire state than Lehi? Right? I mean, especially in Traverse and off 2100, like if, we have to do better at marketing and showing, tax incentives are meant for cities that are really struggling economically. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to convince Smith's or Walmart to come in. And they're like, well, we don't want to go in there unless you give us a tax break.
Right.
Lehi's not in a position right now in such a dire position to do that. And so, we want to keep that revenue, and the difference right now to me is like there's small business owners. I have many supporters who are running their own small businesses, and they're treated, quite frankly, like garbage by the city.
Right.
But these big developers and big businesses come in, and they're the red carpet is rolled out.
Right.
And so obviously we can't give tax incentives to everyone, but we shouldn't also treat businesses differently. Like small businesses, as I grew up in a small business family. Most of my family are entrepreneurs, and taxes are the biggest expense.
Oh yeah.
And like I don't think Walmart or Texas Instruments, I don't think they're gonna like struggle if we don't give them millions of dollars in tax incentives, but the city's budget will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're kind of getting toward time. And I think I've asked you about most of the things I wanted to ask about. I guess if you could just sum up kind of the three big things that you want people to know about you and why you're running.
Yeah. Well, it's my first time running. I don't want to be a career politician. I just want to do maybe 2 terms and then leave. Right. Like, I think if you've been in too long, you develop blind spots and you have a lot of favors to return. And I don't want that to be me.
Right.
I'm here because I think we have a better way to grow as a city. Mm-hmm. We can't stop growth. That's silly and it's kind of nonsense, but we can grow more strategically in keeping Lehi safe, to solve some of our traffic issues with our neighboring cities as well as the state, and to be able to boost our commercial tax base, our retail tax base. Those are the big issues for me, in addition to the public safety aspect of supporting the police, getting them the headcount now so that we stay a safe city going into the future.
Right. Awesome. You have a website?
I do. It's jamesforlehi.com. So ballots are already out. I don't know when this will be published, but
soon.
Election will be 4th of November. Make sure your ballots are into the ballot box by 8 p.m. Not mailed, but into the ballot box, and we'll see how this goes. I'm very optimistic. I'm grateful for the other candidates running. I think they're all great people and care about Lehi. But for me, I think it's about choosing a more strategic direction in Lehi.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that last. I think it was on Instagram. I saw the county clerk posted they had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of ballots.
Yeah.
And that he said, these we received, but we did not count.
Because, I think it was 1,100 in Utah County. Yeah.
Which could have changed the tenor of a number of races.
Yeah.
And it was because people put them in the mail and they arrived after that 8 p.m. deadline. Yeah. So if you're not putting them in the ballot box like a week ahead, where you're just absolutely certain that it's going to get there, I would just, in the mailbox, not the ballot box, then I would put it in the ballot box. I would just make sure that you'd go put it in that drop box. I turn mine into the drop box. My wife usually fills hers out, and I drop hers off too.
Yeah.
And we put them in the ballot box or the drop box is over by the police station here in Lehi. And the reason is because county employees come pick them up. They drive them over to the thing. And if they're in the ballot box or the drop box by 8 p.m., then you're good.
Yeah, if you have to mail them, if you're traveling and you just can't go in person, I would do it at least a week in advance. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Is there any other way that people should get a hold of you? Or I'm going to try and get this out tomorrow. So any events you want people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, we have several events coming up. Next week, we have an event with Heidi Baldery at Thanksgiving Point. Later this week, we have one in Traverse. So just follow my Facebook page, probably for the most recent information. Okay. So James Harrison for Lehi City Council, and yeah, look forward to the next couple of weeks. I think I'll sleep pretty well either way on November 5th.
Good deal. All right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Thanks for watching, and till next time, Max out.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.